Hello, hello, hello. What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday, and welcome to another edition of the weekly Astro Forecast live here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So, this channel is everything tarot, astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So, if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my loves. So, this is the weekly Astro forecast for the week of July 31st through August 6th. 2023. Can you believe that we are already in August? Like, it's still blowing my mind how fast time is just going, but it is going and it is going, right? So, speaking of August, new month means new energies, means a new forecast. So, if you were not able to join me live last Wednesday for the monthly Astro forecast for August, you can find the link to that down below. So, you can check out everything that is going down, astrologically speaking, for the month of August. All right. So, let's let the good people on Twitter know that we are live so that they can come and join us over here. All right. So, the big thing this week is the full moon in Aquarius, which is going down tomorrow. And I don't know about you, but I am definitely feeling this full moon energy so far. Like, I feel like it hit me like a ton of bricks today. You know, this full moon is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is an air sign. So it has a lot to do with our thoughts. It has a lot to do with communication. And, you know, I feel like I want to say halfway through this morning, it's like I got hit with like 1,000,001 thoughts. It's like my mind was racing almost uncontrollably. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? It was like thoughts of all kinds. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I literally had to just meditate. I had to power down, I had to at least try to take a nap because the energy was just so, it wasn't even so much that it was intense. It was so swift. Like, it just came out of nowhere. And that's kind of the energy of Aquarius, generally speaking. Okay. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn traditionally, but the modern ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, and Uranus is swift, sudden changes, fast moving energy, a little chaotic, and that's literally exactly how I felt today. Like, my mind was just like a minefield of just chaos. Like, it was crazy. So I want to know, are you guys feeling the energy of this full moon yet? You know, you're going to want to take a look at your natal chart and see where it's going down, but you're probably, I don't know if you're going to feel it in the same way that I did, but again, with this full moon going down in Aquarius, it has a lot to do with our thoughts, planning for the future, all that good stuff, but I'll be getting into all that in a little bit. Apart from that, we have some Jupiter transits going down this week that's going to require us to practice a little bit of moderation. The one thing about Jupiter is that it's the great expander. It expands things. It's larger than life, right? But inherent in the energy of Jupiter can also be the energy of moderation. You know, excess is not always a great thing. And so sometimes Jupiter is here to remind us that while it is great to expand, you know, sometimes we got to do it a little slow and a little steady. And one of the particular aspects this week is probably going to test us when it comes to that. This idea of having moderation, of sort of going slow. But again, I'll get into that a little bit later as well. So before we get into all of the details, right, let's take care of housekeeping and announcements. So if you are joining me here on the live this evening, thank you so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate you. Hopefully you find this broadcast useful and valuable to you. If you do, please, if you would be so kind as to hit that like button on your way in and say hello to your fellow Astro friends in the chat, all right? And if you are joining me on the replay, I appreciate you just as much. Thank you so much for tuning in as well. Hopefully you find value and usefulness from this broadcast. And if you would be so kind as to hit that like button, that would be greatly appreciated as well too. All right. In terms of announcements, so there's 3 videos that you're going to want to check out that I just dropped over the last week. The first is the monthly astrological forecast for the month of August. I did that live last Wednesday, but of course, the replay is up on the channel. I will also provide the link in the description box below. I basically discuss everything going on astrologically for the month of August, so you definitely don't want to miss out on that if you haven't checked that out already. Now, we have a powerful full moon in Aquarius going down tomorrow. And the other day, I dropped a video dedicated specifically to the astrology, the numerology, the spirituality, everything that you need to know about this full moon in Aquarius. I did a dedicated video for. So if you haven't checked that out already, that link will be in the description box below. And then there's one more. So we're currently in August. Well, we're about to be in August, and it's Leo season, so that can only mean one thing. The Lionsgate portal is currently open, and this is such a powerful and auspicious time of the year. This is the time of the year when you can ascend, you can manifest what's truly in your heart. You can really get a lot done with this Lionsgate portal energy. If you have no idea what the Lionsgate portal is, or maybe you do and you're just not too sure what to do with the energy, check out the video that I just dropped this morning all about it. All right. And that is going to be linked in the description box below. Okay. All right. Let me see this comment here. I had to take a nap too. I'm still exhausted. I thought maybe it was allergies because your body fights them. I'm just wiped out. Yeah, exactly. I am wiped out is the perfect way to describe it. Like, I felt like I started my day off really on a high note, and then like mid-morning, I just crashed and my mind was in chaos. I was exhausted, mentally exhausted, which also led to physical exhaustion. But yes, I completely agree with your sentiments. So let's see what else we have here. So if you are someone who is interested in your horoscope, if you are interested in astrology information, you want to learn more, then consider subscribing to my text service. You'll not only get your horoscope, your weekly horoscope texted to you every Monday morning, but you'll also get other cool information depending on the sign that you want information for. So if you are interested in that, simply text the word ZODIAC to the number 855-826-5544. And that information will be in the description box below. All right. Now, my signature service is called the Blueprint, and it's basically a natal chart report plus a natal chart consultation. It's my signature service because the natal chart is where it all begins. The natal chart is the blueprint to your life. Understanding your natal chart is not just to find out cool information about yourself. It's great to not only know yourself, discover yourself, heal yourself, manifest the things in your life. This service is chock full of information. So it's like a 20-page plus written report plus a 60-minute virtual consultation. All right. It is everything. And I'm not even saying that because I'm the one who's providing it. It's really a great service, especially if you're new to astrology or if you've sort of glanced at your natal chart, but you're not necessarily too sure about what everything means. This service breaks it down beautifully and completely for you. All right. And if you are interested in that product is actually linked to this video, and you can also find the link in the description box below. All right. And so last thing, if you are someone who is new to astrology and you have no idea what's going on, or if you are someone who started studying astrology, but you realize that it's a lot and maybe you feel a little overwhelmed, I created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which is basically the quick and dirty on everything you need to know to start studying astrology, namely the 4 pillars of astrology, which are the planets, the houses, the zodiac signs, and the aspects. Knowing these things are the basis for not only studying astrology, but studying your natal chart as well. So it's an 8-page PDF document that, again, just summarizes these 4 pillars, okay? And so that you can start committing them to memory, because regardless of what anyone says or doesn't say, astrology is definitely a science. And so, like any science, it requires a good deal of study. So to help you start studying, I created this cheat sheet. It's completely free. Link is in the description box below. All you need to do is drop your email address and you are good to go. All right. All right. Okay. So, and also that Astrology Basics cheat sheet, the 4 pillars of astrology, I actually turned it into a video series called How to Read Your Natal Chart. It discusses each of those pillars in a separate video, and then the fifth and final video puts it all together so you can have an idea of how to start reading your natal chart, right? So I've got you covered on all bases. We've got services, we've got free resources, I've got everything for you. Trust me. Because I know, and the reason why I do this, I'm about to go on a tangent, but let's just go for the sake of it, right? The reason why I do all this is because when I figured out how valuable astrology is and how you can use it in so many different ways, not only was I fascinated, but I was just like, I have to share this with people because there's no way that people don't know this, right? It's just, astrology is amazing. It's one of the many tools that I feel are invaluable on your spiritual journey. And I just love sharing it. Hence why I do what I do. Okay. All right. So let us get into this week. As you can see, I feel like I'm struggling because I feel so sort of weighed down. This full moon energy it's intense, right? But it's very, it can be very eye-opening. Now, despite the fact that I feel like I had 1,000,001 random thoughts, a lot of these thoughts were really about where I want to be. And some of these thoughts were even about like who I want to be. And I think these are some of the questions that this full moon energy is asking of us, right? Because Aquarius is such a future oriented sign. It's not so much about where we've been, it's about where we're going. And even apart from where we're going, who do we want to be when we get there? Like what do we have going on right now that either is working for us or is not working for us? And if it's not working for us, sort of what can we do to improve it? What can we do to innovate what we're doing? That's everything that this full moon is all about, okay? So my suggestion is, if you find that you're asking a lot of questions, if you find that you don't feel so sure about the future, maybe you know where you want to go, but you don't know how to get there. Or maybe you know what you want to have, but you don't necessarily know what you need to embody to have those things. Some quiet reflection time, I think, you kind of just have to do that. Not just for this full moon, but if you're on your spiritual journey, like meditation or even just quiet time to just reflect or journal or whatever, like that's a prerequisite. We're at the point now where you cannot avoid that. Like that has to be a part of your daily practice. But really ask yourself those questions, particularly what do you want and who do you want to be? And trust and believe that this full moon is going to show you bits and pieces that can help you answer those questions. Again, this full moon can be quite enlightening. And speaking of enlightening, let's get into the highlights, okay? So first up, we have what I like to call the awakening, and this is this full moon in Aquarius, okay? So it's all about self-improvement. It's all about thinking of the future. And we're sort of at this junction or this juncture, right? Where we've got one foot in the old and one foot in the new. The energy of this full moon is very much about transition. It also has an undercurrent of transformation, but by and large, it's like we're transitioning from one cycle to another. It's like one cycle is kind of ending, but the other one has sort of yet to begin. And so if you're feeling a little unsteady, if you're feeling a little unsure, that's probably why. Because we're not quite leaving everything behind, but we're not quite opening that new door yet. So give yourself grace and compassion at this time because it's going to take some adjustment. First and foremost up here, it's going to take some mental adjustment. It's going to take some getting your mind right, getting your mind attuned to the right frequency of what it is that you want and who you want to be, okay? Then the next thing that we've got going on this week is what I like to call let go, okay? And this is going to be Pluto square the North Node. We don't have too many astrological happenings in the sky this week, but the ones that we do, we're definitely going to feel them. And so one of them that we're going to feel pretty intensely is this Pluto square at the North Node, all right? It's all about getting in alignment with your path, your mission, your purpose. But it's also going to, in doing so, it's going to require us to let certain things go. I think for some, it's not even a matter of letting go. I think it's things are just going to sort of be like ripped away from us in a sense, okay? But it's also about not being afraid to let these things go, right? And also being open to detours. One of the major themes of this particular transit is the idea of control. And whenever we're talking about the North Node, we're sort of talking about fate, we're talking about destiny. And we do have a great deal of control over our destiny. Never think that your destiny is outside of yourself. However, you don't have to hold on so tight to it, right? A lot of times, control isn't manipulation, it isn't strangulation, it isn't, stifling energy. Sometimes control is allowing things to just unfold naturally. And that's sort of what we're going to be urged to do or reminded of this week with this particular transit. All right. And then finally, we have what I like to call don't overdo it. So we've got Jupiter making some moves or aligning with certain planets this week. And like I was saying before, Jupiter has this sort of larger than life energy. And inherent in that energy of excess and expansion is also the concept of moderation. So we're going to, on the one hand, we're going to have this energy of like winning, being optimistic and succeeding. We can be a little selfish, a little greedy, wanting to indulge in some of those things. But again, we're going to have to practice moderation. And anytime we're talking about Jupiter, we're also talking about good luck and good fortune. So although we do have some challenging aspects this week, the presence of Jupiter, I want to say, might soften things a little bit. It might remind us that regardless of what's going on, we always have abundance. We always have good fortune at our disposal. I did a really great live with Rob Blackstorm and Monique Ruffin, the Moon Mama, yesterday on the full moon in Aquarius. And we talked at length about manifestation and how reality really works. And reality is all about selecting the frequency, selecting the things that you want on a regular basis. Nothing is, so when we're talking about manifestation, it's really about selecting. It's not about creating something that doesn't already exist. There are millions of versions of yourself, right? And you're literally every day just selecting the version of yourself that you want. If you're doing it consciously, if you're doing it unconsciously, you might be selecting the version of yourself that you don't want. So when I say abundance and good fortune is always available to you, it's because at any given moment in time, you could you could select good fortune and abundance. It's always there. It's omnipresent. It's never going anywhere. And anytime we're talking about Jupiter, that's sort of what we are reminded of. Okay? All right, so let's get into the week and see exactly what we've got going on. All right, so today we have the moon moving into Aquarius. So it's making its way. So the moon made its way into Aquarius and it will reach full moon status on Tuesday, right? Because we got the full moon in Aquarius. We've also got Mercury opposite Saturn and Mars trine Jupiter. Then on Wednesday, we have the moon moving into Pisces. Thursday, we've got that intense Pluto square North Node transit I mentioned before. Friday, we have the moon moving into Aries, and then we close the week on Sunday with the sun square to Jupiter. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the week. All right, so today we've got the moon moving into Aquarius, and you will see that in the red circle at the top portion of the chart, right? So it's important to note that over the last day, the moon crossed over Pluto. You'll notice Pluto is the maroon guy next to the moon, which is at 28 degrees Capricorn. Okay, so this is very important, especially leading up to this full moon in Aquarius. So when the moon is in Aquarius, long story short, we're thinking about the future. It's almost like crafting a master plan. It's about breaking out of the mold, perhaps crafting a future that's very different from what you're currently used to. Okay. It's very much about improvement. It's about innovation. We're in the age of Aquarius right now. So just the energy of Aquarius lends itself to technology, technological advancement, this sort of access to information that we're experiencing right now. So that is the essence of Aquarius. And when the moon is in Aquarius, we derive our emotional satisfaction from thinking of the future, from brainstorming, from inventing things, from improving things in our lives. Aquarius also has a lot to do with humanity. So connecting with people that are on the same wavelength as you, connecting with people that are of like mind, all of those things we like to do, and they make us feel good when the moon is in Aquarius, okay? So the full moon in Aquarius, and I'm sort of jumping ahead, but they go together, so, it's whatever. The full moon illuminates, right? And if you checked out my video, I speak ad nauseum about how this full moon is going to illuminate what we need to improve in our lives, okay? Now, the fact that the moon crossed over Pluto retrograde probably yesterday into today means that there's a certain element of endings that's present. Remember, I said this is sort of a full moon where we're in transition, where we've got one foot in the old and one foot in the new. And I feel like between yesterday and today, you may have started to notice what's really not working or what you really need to improve on. And these are the things that it's sort of the universe's way of saying, okay, these things or the situation, the way that it is, it can't necessarily come with you into this future. The future is meant to look, feel, and vibe a certain way, right? And maybe this thing is still in a low vibration, or maybe this thing isn't in alignment with who you truly are. Or maybe this thing is detrimental to your growth and expansion. And so that may be a friendship. It may be a certain mindset. It may be a situation with a family member. It could be a certain thing, a physical, tangible thing that you have in your possession or that you have around you, right? It all depends on where this is going down in your chart. But I will say, again, because the moon crossed over Pluto, right? This is about what's not in alignment. And as the moon moves toward full moon status, it's like what is not working, I feel like it's going to become louder. It's going to become brighter. It's just going to become more in your face. Okay. And it's not necessarily going to feel good, right? Here's the thing about full moons. Full moons can be extremely emotionally triggering. Even in a sign like Aquarius, where Aquarius is not an emotional sign at all. As a matter of fact, Aquarius is usually described as emotionally detached or cold, right? But whenever we're talking about the moon, regardless of whatever sign it's in, it has everything to do with our emotions. And this may be a mindset that you're beginning to realize just doesn't make sense anymore for you. It doesn't align with who you truly are. It's not really doing it for you anymore, right? Or again, it could be a variety of things. But again, I feel like it's going to get much louder. Okay. It's also very important, right? Between today and tomorrow, as the moon moves into full moon status, is to remain positive and have faith. Because here's the thing about the future. The future is created in your mind first. Thoughts become things. We don't create what we want. We create who we are. And so it's really important that you get your mind in alignment with what you want. It's not even just enough to think about it. You have to embody it. You have to be it, right? But the thing is, when you're doing all of that, your reality could be really effed up, right? Like you could be experiencing some really tough things. You could be experiencing the opposite of what you want. You could feel like you are rolling a boulder uphill in the snow, right? It could feel really arduous. It could feel very debilitating. It could feel just difficult and challenging, right? This is when you have faith. This is when you practice and you flex that faith muscle. Like it's very easy to have faith when things are smooth sailing, right? It's like, oh yeah, let's say you're trying to manifest new money or more money. And you're noticing that money is starting to come into your bank account. Of course, you're going to be like, oh, yes, I'm a master manifester. Oh, yes, like this is great. Like I really get this. Oh, I love this process. Yes, I'm a conscious creator. Yes, right? It's when you have a negative balance in your bank account where you just want to be like, oh, this doesn't work. No, I'm always going to be broke. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this, right? That is the time for you to have faith. And I feel like with the moon crossing over Pluto retrograde, I feel like this is really calling for us to be like, okay, it doesn't matter what's going on right now. It doesn't matter what my reality looks like at this moment. I've got my eye toward the future. Not only do I have these eyes toward the future, most importantly, I've got this eye toward the future. So that's sort of how we have to approach this energy. Because I don't know about you, but if you're feeling anything like I was feeling today, even how I'm still feeling now, like I was really on some ready to just like give up, and not in that extreme sort of sense, but just feeling defeated is sort of how I felt. And I'm like, where is this coming from? And again, it's old mindsets, right? It's also part of the purge. The thing with Pluto is like it is like a purge. So if you find that you are thinking very negative thoughts, if you feel like, okay, listen, I've really been like on my P's and Q's, I've really been trying to do the damn thing, and I've really been saying my affirmations, saying my prayers, doing whatever it is, and now you're thinking these negative thoughts, again, have grace and compassion for yourself. It literally may be just a purge. It's showing you what it needs to come up or what is coming up to be released. And you sort of you have to be observant. Observe, not immersed, meaning whatever comes up, you observe it and you send it on its way. This isn't a situation where something comes up and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, don't internalize what comes up. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I heard this, someone was talking about this, like sort of the manifestation space. And they said, you cannot trust your thoughts, right? Because your thoughts are not necessarily the truth. And a lot of times our thoughts are not even our own. Our thoughts are manufactured from society, conditioning, our parents, a whole bunch of other things, right? So it's not the case that when a thought comes up, you have to attach to it or that you have to internalize it. Again, you literally just observe it and send it on its way. That is why quiet reflection time, meditation is so important. Getting in that practice will help you to do that. It's very hard to observe your thoughts and send them on their way when you're stressed out, when you're scared, when your nervous system is completely deregulated. Like, that's why meditation is not just getting spiritual downloads. It's not just being present. It puts you in the right physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual space to be your best self and to connect with your highest self, right? So I know I just went on a diatribe with that, but it's for real. It's serious because, again, if you've got a flurry of thoughts coming up and you're attaching to them, it's kind of like you're not necessarily thinking of the past. Thinking of the future. You're really just living in the past, right? It's time. This is this moon where we get our minds right, for better or for worse. And I feel like this moon is going to show us exactly where we're at mentally. And when I say mentally, not like your mental health, but where you are in terms of using your mental activities to create your reality. This is going to be one of those moons that really opens our eyes to that. So the point I was trying to make before I went on that diatribe was that you have to remain positive and have faith. Have faith in the outcome that you are creating. Have faith in your creation abilities. Have faith that whatever's going on right now is irrelevant. The thoughts that are coming up that are not in alignment with the future that you want, don't give them credence. Don't give them weight. Don't give them any sort of intensity or feeling, right? It's really about remaining positive, keeping your eye on the prize, and keep moving because, like I said, we are in a transition, right? We're in a transition period. Even more so with the presence of Pluto so close to at least the moon right now, okay? So it's really about transitioning from the old to the new and letting go of what we no longer need, okay? Let's keep it moving. All right, so on Tuesday, we've got the full moon in Aquarius, right? You'll see at the top of the chart, the sun is at 9 degrees Leo, and the moon is at 9 degrees Aquarius. Excuse me. Then we also have Mercury opposite Saturn. So you will see sort of next to the sun at the top of the chart, you will see Mercury at 5 degrees Virgo and we've got Saturn at 5 degrees Pisces. Then we've also got Mars trine Jupiter. So Mars is at 13 degrees Virgo and Jupiter is at 13 degrees Taurus. All right. So let's discuss. So I already pretty much talked about the full moon in Aquarius. And if you want to know more, again, check out my video all about it. Link is in the description box below. But yeah, I guess what I'll say to complete this discussion is that, again, this is a period of transition. It's a time where we've got one foot in, one foot out. So the moon and both the moon and the sun are going to be square to Jupiter. Okay. And so thankfully, I feel like the presence of Jupiter in the mix of this full moon is going to soften it a bit. It's going to, I want to say, make it not as harsh. Although, as I was preparing for this right before I went live, it came to me that, Jupiter expands things. And so you may find that your thoughts are like you've got 1,000,001 thoughts. So don't be surprised if you experience something like that, because Jupiter is just going to make everything tenfold, right? But the presence of Jupiter also lets us know that this whole process that we're going through, this whole creating our future, this whole seeing what we no longer need and sort of what we need to drop or maybe even improve in our lives, is where we're going to be able to experience abundance, and abundance in a very real sort of way, right? Like, because Jupiter is in Taurus. So it's almost like in doing this work, in being this conscious creator, in doing the internal work, right? Because remember, I said the moon crossed over Pluto. Pluto is currently retrograde. So we are working on transformation from the inside out. So think of this full moon as addressing the mental portion of our transformation. It's all about our mindset, and our mindset as it relates to our future and as it relates to the things that we need to improve. So you can't talk about improvement unless you talk about things that need to be improved, right? Things that are not going so well. And that's what this full moon is going to show you. It's really just information. It's not meant to be internalized. It's not meant for you to chastise yourself or feel bad about these things that you don't have or these situations that are not working out. It's merely just information. It's like, all right, cool. This relationship, this isn't really working out for me. I don't feel like I can really be myself. I don't feel like my partner sees me or understands me. Okay, what is it about me that I feel like I can't express? And is there anything that I can do to bring out my authentic self? Are there conversations that I can have with my partner that can establish a stronger bond or greater intimacy between us, right? Like, these are sort of the questions that you're asking yourself. This is the work. This is the mental exercise that you're doing to improve upon your situation, okay? So it's in doing that work with the presence of Jupiter in the mix. It's in doing that work that we'll find our abundance. Where we'll not only find our abundance in terms of getting what we want, we're also expanding spiritually. Because the thing about manifestation, it's not just to have the things that you want. That's a byproduct of the real purpose of manifestation. The real purpose of manifestation is to remind yourself that you are God in the flesh, that you are an incarnation of God, that you have the spiritual capacity to create whatever it is you want, right? And so the presence of Jupiter is a reminder of that spirituality. It's a reminder of our abilities, not just to have a great relationship or a new car, but to create the future that we truly want. And let me be honest with you, that is going to be baseline norm. The way the society is going, the way that the Earth's vibration is raising, you are going to have to create your reality. Like, it's not a game anymore. Manifestation is not something that is deliberate. We do it all the time. It's just a matter of whether you're conscious of it or not. We are going to a place where you need to be conscious of what you are manifesting. That is the new Earth. It's consciousness. It's stepping into your God self. Okay, so this is all just think of all of this as an exercise in getting you to who you really are. You're exercising your powers, almost like, with Harry Potter when he first went to Hogwarts and he has to take all these classes to sort of learn how to use his magic. Remember, he got his wand and he didn't know what the fuck he was doing with it. He was like all over the place with it. That's where we're at right now. We're all learning how to use our wands. We're all learning how to use our God-given skills and our magic. And these astrological events are just lessons. They're information, they're lessons. That's really what it is. So it's time to get busy. It's time to really understand who you are and start flexing that God self muscle. All right. So next up, we've got Mercury opposite Saturn. And this is going to be a transit that can be a little challenging because it gets you to think very seriously, but also a bit pessimistically. Okay. Now, with Saturn currently retrograde in Pisces, there's this energy of sort of our faith being tested, number one. Number two, the concept of authority. And where does your authority lie? The best way that I can describe this, and this just came to me the other day, it's like, if you grew up with very strict parents and they limited you in everything that you did, and this was over a long period of time, as you become an adult, they don't need to be in your face telling you what to do for them to still have authority over you, right? Because that strict upbringing, that was what was implanted. That was the program that was implanted within you, right? So even as an adult, right, that's supposed to be autonomous, that's supposed to be doing their own thing, you're still sort of living by their rules. Every time you do something, you still hear their voice in your head, right? Telling you no, or you're not good enough, or don't do that this way, right? So you don't have authority over yourself. And Saturn retrograde in Pisces is all about figuring out where your authority lies. Okay. And so with Mercury opposite Saturn, it's one of those situations where these are the thoughts that may be coming to mind. Now, remember I said with this full moon in Aquarius, you may be having a lot of thoughts right now. And some of these thoughts may not be so pleasant, thanks to Mercury opposite Saturn. And some of these thoughts may really be very introspective in terms of the authority in your life, in terms of your faith, right? Because Pisces has a lot to do with our faith and our spirituality. So many of us are going to be turning our eyes inward and looking at the things that may be sort of uncomfortable to look at or that may be emotionally triggering, right? It also has a lot to do with like a lack of self-esteem. It has a lot to do with sort of, again, a lot of pessimism, not seeing the good in everything. This transit can also lend itself to hearing like bad news or, challenging news or something like that. And so whenever we have a transit like this, where you're not necessarily in the right mindset, and when I say right mindset, if you're trying to achieve X, Y, and Z, but you're sort of in this holding pattern of pessimism, of, negative thoughts and things like that, it's not always the best time to do things that are in alignment with what you want because you're not in alignment with those things, right? So this is one of those transits where if you can, you sort of want to delay making important decisions. You want to delay signing contracts, at least until it passes. Because again, the energy of this transit lends itself to pessimism and sort of negativity and heaviness, right? So you definitely don't want to go into a situation where you have to make a major decision. I mean, if you can't avoid it, you can't avoid it, right? You just have to do the best you can at the time. But if you can, try not to do anything important, try not to do serious business, try not to sign on the dotted line until this transit passes and you have a clearer head. Okay. That's pretty much all I'll say for that. And then next up, we've got Mars trine Jupiter. And so the juxtaposition of the astrology tomorrow is interesting because we've got Mercury opposite Saturn, which is like a Debbie Downer. And then we've got Mars trine Jupiter, which is like being on speed. So Mars trine Jupiter, it's like it exacerbates all of the energy of Mars. So Mars is all about competition. It's about winning. It's about going after your desires in a very direct and focused manner, right? So it's like being revved up and then just expanding that energy. So being amped, being motivated, being ready to go, ready to move forward, ready to bulldoze anything that gets in your way, right? So again, if you feel like you are on an emotional seesaw, like it's not just you. I think it would be all of us because again, on the one hand, you've got Mercury opposite Saturn, which is like, I don't like this. I don't know what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. And then you've got Mars trine Jupiter, which is like, I want this. I want to go after it. And I'm going to go after it with everything I've got, right? So yeah, if you're feeling like that, it's not just you. Okay. Um, Now, here's the thing. If you can push past some of that negative energy or negative thoughts, Mars trine Jupiter is a great transit to start new things, especially if you're willing to take a little bit of a risk. Um, so we've got Mars in Virgo and we've got Jupiter in Taurus. And so this is starting things in a starting practical things essentially. So if you want to go after a new job, if you want to buy a big ticket item, if you want to perhaps even start a business, right? Like this is going to be the time you're going to want to do it. And again, it's all going to hinge on whether you can push past that negative thinking, because that negative thinking may weigh you down. It may limit you. It may be like, yeah, I really want this thing, but I don't think I can have it. Or I really want to start this thing, but I don't have the resources, or I don't think I'm good at this, or I don't think it's going to be a success. If you're able to push past that negative thinking and take that risk and be bold and start something new, start a practical new thing, it's definitely going to be successful for you. So definitely keep that in mind. And what's interesting is that Mars trine Jupiter is great for making decisions. However, Mercury opposite Saturn is not great for making decisions. So I don't know. Like, I really think that you kind of just have to take it as it goes. And it depends on how you feel. Again, if you can push past that negative cloud, I think you'll be great. But if you're feeling like, I don't know, if you're feeling that negativity, I would suggest that you probably hold off on making any decisions. But again, it all depends on you. All right. That's Tuesday. Let's keep it moving. All right, so on Wednesday, we have the moon moving into Pisces, okay? And you'll see that at the left-hand portion of the chart. It's important to note that while the moon is in Pisces, it will conjoin Saturn and it'll also conjoin Neptune, okay? So whenever the moon is in Pisces, we are extremely emotional. We feel things a lot more. It's like our spidey senses are a lot more sensitive, and it lends itself to a lot of emotions, a lot of overwhelming emotions sometimes. You know, Pisces has a lot to do with addictive behaviors because the symbol for Pisces is the fish. And the fish, whenever it's too much, the fish just sort of swim away, right? So inherent in the energy of Pisces is sort of the concept of escapism. That's also why Pisces is associated with the media and entertainment. Those things allow us to escape reality, right? Especially movies. Movies are under the realm of Pisces. Neptune really, but Pisces as well. So whenever we feel too much, we kind of want to escape, right? And Pisces energy lends itself to addictive behaviors, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, whether it's sex, anything that allows you to disconnect, to swim away, essentially, and escape whatever is going on. And so we've got this energy of the full moon in Aquarius. Then we've got that Debbie Downer of Mercury opposite Saturn. And then with the moon moving into Pisces, I want to say that the beginning of this week can be highly emotional. It's like you may be in your head and you may be in your feelings a lot, right? Because it's just a lot going on. I want to highlight this comment. Rob said, I took the day off work Best move ever today. Yes, I would agree because the energy is extremely intense. Like I said, I feel like the beginning of this week is just going to be a lot, right? And again, with Pisces conjoining Saturn, this may be confronting your fears. Saturn has a lot to do with fears. With Saturn being the planet of karma and Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, this may be you being confronted with your karma, right? And if you've listened to any of my videos before, karma is not a moral thing. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's literally just cause and effect. So karma is really just the effects of a previous cause, essentially, right? So yeah, it can be a very emotional time with the moon in Pisces. However, anytime we have Pisces energy, we're talking about the subconscious. And the subconscious is the soil in which we plant the seeds of the things that we want to manifest. And so with Pisces conjoining Saturn, with the moon conjoining Saturn in Pisces between Wednesday and Friday, it's going to be a time where we address our subconscious, or maybe where some of our subconscious emotions start coming to the surface. And again, if it's quite intense, this may trigger you to want to escape reality for a bit, right? But it's very important that you address these things. Remember, anytime we feel triggered, anytime we experience emotions, anytime we are confronted with what we don't want, it is just information. That's all it is. It's information on the past. It's showing us what we were thinking before. Everything in our 3D reality is not even the present, it's really the past. Because thoughts create things, and those thoughts that we have are projected into our 3D reality. What you're seeing now is past thoughts. And whenever those emotions come up, clearly they're from the past because they've been repressed, right? So it's really just information. And it's all about what you do with that information that really makes the difference. If you internalize it, right? If you know how people like to determine the future based on the past? Like, people will say things like, oh, history always repeats itself. No, it doesn't. It repeats itself because you choose to repeat it. You don't have to. The future can look completely different than what you are experiencing now or what you've experienced in the past. So when you're confronted with things in your 3D reality that you don't like or you don't want, or repressed emotions that come up, it's just information to show you what you don't want. And when you know what you don't want, it's a lot easier to know what you do want. So use it as information and try not to escape whatever you're feeling. Whatever you're feeling, it needs to come up. It needs to be released. That is the way emotions work. Emotions need to be felt. We're conditioned on some bullshit to not feel emotions, to not feel pain. I was just thinking about this yesterday. Like, we have a whole industry dedicated to the management of pain, right? But it's really just to not have you feeling anything. Just like, and I'm hearing this right now, just like, epidurals. I mean, I am not a mother yet, so I don't want you to think that I'm just like, oh, you don't need that. I'm not going to say that. However, pain, emotions, they're meant to be felt. Why? Because once they are felt, they dissipate, they go away. It's when you don't feel them that they stay in your body and they manifest as physical illnesses, right? In any event, I'm still talking about moon and Pisces. So whatever you're feeling, try not to escape it. Feel it, let it come up, let it release itself, right? And I want to say think about your subconscious, but pay attention and be intentional about what seeds you're planting into your subconscious. The presence of Saturn retrograde is going to help you with that. Saturn is going to show you perhaps your fears, your insecurities, where you lack authority in your life, right? Again, all of this is information for you to use to your advantage so that you can figure out what it is that you do want and plant good seeds in your subconscious, all right? The moon in Pisces is going to be great for that. And since this moon follows the full moon in Aquarius, this is all about releasing, right? The moon in Pisces is the waning gibbous moon. So this is where we release what we don't need. Again, whatever you're feeling, allow it to come up so it can be released. All right. Let's keep it moving. All right, so on Thursday, we've got Pluto square the North Node. So at the top of the chart, you'll see Pluto at 28 degrees Capricorn, and the North Node is currently at 28 degrees Aries. Okay, so what does this mean? I sort of alluded to this before, but this is also going to be an intense kind of energy, because anytime we're talking about Pluto, we're talking about intensity. Okay, so the way that this particular transit works is that anytime we're talking about the North Node, we're talking about our destiny, we're talking about our soul's mission, our life purpose. It's sort of where we are headed in this lifetime. The presence of Pluto square the North Node means that there may be things that are holding you back from moving forward or from being in alignment with where you are meant to go. Now, whenever we're talking about Pluto, it's not just to say, let's say that you're in a relationship, right? And you really want this new job that's going to require you to move. It's going to be a better location. It's going to be more money. Like, it's just going to be a really great transition for you. But your partner doesn't want to move. Your partner is not supporting you. That's sort of how this transit works. However, it goes much deeper than that. Anytime we talk about Pluto, we're talking about the underworld. We're talking about the uglier side of life. And typically that has a lot to do with our shortcomings, our bad habits, where we may be obsessed, where we may have issues with control. So this is sort of a transit that's going to show you how you're standing in your own way and what's sort of getting in the way in terms of your bad habits, or maybe your obsessions or repressed emotions even, that are preventing you from being in alignment with where you're meant to go. Okay. Your focus becomes intense and obsessive, but exerting your will on others and the world around you doesn't yield the results you were hoping for. Remember, I said before, if you remember, when I was talking about this particular transit during the highlights portion, I talked about control. Pluto has a lot to do with control. It has a lot to do with that magnetism that's inherent in control, right? And here's the thing. It's like this particular transit, it's like you want to do so much. It's like you want to do the most externally to change your circumstances. It's like you are trying to, it's like you're obsessive about it. You're trying to maybe manipulate people, manipulate situations. Anytime we talk about Pluto, we also talk about the taboo. So this could be doing like spell work. This could be doing a whole bunch of stuff to manipulate your reality. When meanwhile, it's like you really have to turn all of that energy, all of that effort inward and see what you are contributing to the situation that is preventing you from being in alignment with where you're trying to go. So it's almost like you're putting the control, you're misplacing the control. You want to control everyone else. You want this new job, so you're trying to put a spell on the person that's interviewing you. Or you want your partner to agree with what you're doing. So you're like beating them over the head so that they agree and they decide to do whatever it is that you want to do. That is not how this transit works. And if those are the things that you're doing, this transit is going to like slap you upside the head. Right? Like you're going to see how much your efforts are not working. It's really about going within and eradicating the things within yourself that are preventing you from getting to where you need to go and from who you need to be. Right? Everything is an inside job. We're sort of conditioned to think that we need to manipulate things in our external reality to make things happen. You don't change other people. You change yourself. When you change your frequency, when you change the vibration that you are vibing on, then everything around you changes. And you know what's so difficult about that is that a lot of times we want to hold on to what we currently have, right? We want to hold on to the job. We want to hold on to the friends. We want to hold on to the relationship, right? And I think a lot of times we are afraid to change because it may mean that we have to let those things go. And so a lot of times we're like, let me just change them. Let me get them to do this for me. That way I can still hold on to them and I can still get what I want. And that's not always how it works. When you raise your vibration, people will either meet you or they won't. And if they don't meet you, it just leaves room for people that will. So I think a lot of times we're afraid of, well, I have this. If I lose it, am I going to get something as good? You'll probably get something better because you're vibing higher, right? So really, this transit is about getting right within and figuring out where you are, where you're fucking yourself up, essentially. I also have less is more right now. Adjustments to your strategy need to be made. So this is about not doing the most. I feel like with this particular transit, especially sort of off the heels of the full moon in Aquarius, we're going to be cognizant, especially like consciously, of what it is that we want, what we want to improve in our lives, right? And if you're really tapped in when it comes to your purpose, I feel like you're going to be amped up about it, or you're at least going to be thinking and planning for whatever this thing is, right? But then comes that element of like, I want it now, or I need to do the most, or just, you know how society conditions us to want to go from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds with everything, right? That microwave shit. I feel like that's how you may be feeling. And in your sort of desperation to go from 0 to 60, it may cause you to want to manipulate things or situations or people, or become obsessive and sort of have your destiny in a chokehold, right? Control isn't about manipulation. Control isn't about holding on too tight. When you really have control over a situation, you have the faith in yourself to know that things are going to unfold exactly as they should. You don't have to have a chokehold on it. And that's what this particular transit is saying. That's exactly what this transit is saying. And it's going to show us. All right. So this is not about doing the most. It's really about looking within and being like, all right, what can I change within myself right now? Forget trying to manipulate everyone. Forget trying to do this to get someone to do this. Like, no, what do I need to change within myself? That's exactly what this particular transit is going to show us. All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so on Friday, we have the moon moving into Aries. All right, and you'll see that in the red circle. The moon is going to be at 0 degrees Aries. All right, so I just said you're probably going to feel kind of amped about, your life purpose, your destiny, where you want to go. That moon in Aries is going to really rev up your engines. Okay. Now, because the moon is in the waning gibbous phase, it really allows you to be very direct and intentional about the things that you want to release. Aries energy can be very impulsive. Like Aries is like, you know what? I want this thing and I'm just going to do whatever I need to do to get this thing. So if something is standing in your way, you're going to want to bulldoze through it. You're going to want to throw it out. It's almost like, when the example, I'm getting a very specific example, like, let's say that you want a new bedroom set and you want to change your entire bedroom from the furniture to the bed, like all of that stuff. Your desire to have that new bedroom set is going to have you throwing out anything that is not that bedroom set, right? Like you are just going to dismantle your bed. You're going to take apart the dresser. You're just going to get rid of everything, right? To make room for that new bedroom set that you really want. That's sort of how we operate when the moon is in Aries in the waning gibbous phase. It's like whatever is not what we want, like we just don't want it. We don't want to fuck with it. We don't want to entertain it. We're just like, that's it. This is what I want. Everything else can go in the trash. And so that's pretty much how we operate, right? It's this motivation by a strong desire to start fresh, right? Because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So it's all about starting something new. So this is going to give us a little bit of the motivation to start new things, particularly things that we've been thinking about with that full moon in Aquarius, right? We're still sort of fresh off the heels of this full moon by the time Friday rolls around. So this is going to be the time where it's like go time. It's like, okay, I figured out that this is what I want to do. And so with this moon in Aries, it's almost like you're going to have a battery in your back and you are just going to be like the Energizer bunny, just ready to go with whatever it is that you want to do. So use the energy to your advantage. This is about like emotional spring cleaning on like 100. Whatever is not serving you, whether it's emotions, whether it's thoughts, whether it's the opinions of others, it's time to let it go. It's time to let it go. It's time to get rid of it. And it's time to start something new, something that is in alignment with what you truly want. All right, let's keep it moving. All right. And then we close out the week on Sunday with the Sun square Jupiter. Okay. So we've got the Sun at 14 degrees Leo and we got Jupiter at 14 degrees Taurus. All right. So let's discuss. So Sun square Jupiter, it can be a very enlightening sort of transit. Anytime you have the sun, it energizes, it sort of, reveals the truth of things. Jupiter expands things. So this could be a situation where a truth is revealed. Although it can be, but that's not usually, I wouldn't say that's like the textbook definition of how this particular transit works. It gives us a lot of self-confidence and self-esteem and also a sense of purpose. So I want to say, generally speaking, for the week, the beginning of the week is going to be sort of an emotional train wreck, right? Not even going to lie to you about that. But by the time that the week is over, I think that we're going to be past a lot of those denser energies. I think that we're going to be past a lot of the negative thoughts and the chaotic mind, right? And I think that we're going to be in a place where we're a lot more focused on what it is that we want and a lot more motivated to go after the things that we want. This is definitely towards the end, the latter part of the week, right? But I feel like it's this energy of larger than life, right? After going through emotional turmoil, and if you successfully go through it, you have this sense of confidence to you, right? You kind of feel invincible, like you can take on the world. And I feel like that's how this particular transit is going to play out. Feeling very optimistic, feeling very purpose driven and very ambitious, right? Especially since the moon is still going to be in Aries while this transit is operating, right? Remember, I said before, inherent in the energy of Jupiter is the notion of moderation. You don't have to do it all right now. Even if you just take one step forward, that's fine. Don't feel like you have to build Rome in a day. Don't feel like you've got to do the most. Don't feel like you've got to like buy everything and anything to facilitate your purpose. Like this is just going to be a time where you're like, all right, this is what I want to do. I'm going to take steps towards it. I know that if I take a risk, I know that if I put my authentic self out there, then I will be rewarded. And that's where I'll find my abundance. And that's pretty much it. Don't overindulge. Don't do the most. Like just allow yourself to enjoy the abundance that naturally comes with this new mindset and allow things to unfold naturally. This isn't going to be, like I said before, especially with that Pluto square North node, this isn't a time to manipulate things. This isn't a time to try to get over. This isn't a time to control your destiny. It's a time to allow things to unfold. Because Jupiter, apart from being the great expander, Jupiter has a lot to do with faith. And if you have faith in yourself, you don't need to manipulate anything. If you know without a shadow of a doubt that what you are doing will come to pass, you have the confidence, you have that belief in yourself. And trust and believe, in the beginning of the week, the astrology is sort of going to test that within you. Are you really committed to the things that you want? That moon in Pisces, especially as it conjuncts Saturn retrograde in Pisces, is sort of going to be a test of your faith. Most importantly, your faith in yourself, or just showing you where your faith even lies. Does your faith lie outside of yourself? Or does it lie within yourself? Do you have a firm foundation of faith within yourself? Like I'm telling you, the beginning of this week, it's going to be intense, but a lot can be illuminated to you if you're willing to do the work and if you're willing to heed the advice that I'm giving you. But yeah, allow things to unfold naturally. Have faith in yourself and just be your authentic self. The sun is currently in Leo. Leo is all about expressing your authentic self by doing that, right? Because we've been doing the inner work for a while, but definitely with this week, especially with, the presence of Pluto retrograde and the moon passing over Pluto. Like, this is doing the internal work. If you do the internal work and you allow your authentic self to shine, you cannot help but reap abundance. Like, that's just how it works. But again, don't do the most. Don't try to manipulate. Just allow things to unfold naturally. All right. And that is how this week is going to go, my friends. Okay. So as always, now I'm going to be pulling cards for each sign for the week. Again, I do this by sign, but whatever message resonates with you is for you. Whether it's your sun, moon, rising, Jupiter, Venus, North Node, doesn't matter. If it resonates, it resonates. All right. So first up, we always start with Aries. So let's see what we've got for Aries for this week. All right, Aries, I like this for you. We've got the Ace of Pentacles. So there is a new opportunity that's going to present itself. Now, I'm getting the sense that this opportunity may come in a packaging that's not that desirable. You guys are very focused on what it is that you want. And because you don't have control over this opportunity, it may show up in a way that doesn't necessarily seem like an opportunity, or the way that it shows up makes you think that it's not in alignment with what you want. But you should definitely take advantage of this opportunity because it really is what you want, right? And it's showing you that, especially with this Pluto square North Node transit, it's showing you that you don't always, like, things are going to go your way, even if they don't look like they're going your way. When it comes to manifesting, the how is not up to us. The how and the when are not up to us. Like, the way things naturally unfold is how they unfold. And when I say naturally, natural to you, not some, standard naturalness. Okay. And so for you, you're like, well, I want this thing, but I want it to be like X, Y, and Z. It has to come like this, that, and the third. And Spirit is like, I'm giving you what you want. It just doesn't, it's not in your little linear thing that you just mentioned. Okay. And Spirit is like, are you going to take it or not? And I feel like you're going to hesitate. You're going to be like, well, it doesn't necessarily seem like what I wanted, but it really is. So definitely take advantage of it and stop trying to control the situation. When you co-create with the universe always delivers. Never doubt that. All right. Next up, we've got Taurus. Let's see what we've got for Taurus for this week. Okay, Taurus, we've got the Queen of Pentacles. Taurus, I like this because this is your card, number one. Number two, there's something about your self-worth, your self-esteem that's really high this week. I feel like you feel, or you're learning that what you have, who you are, is very valuable. And I see you being very intentional about what you do with that value. I get the sense that at some point in the recent, or maybe the not so recent past, you really didn't understand how valuable you are or your self-worth, right? And so you were just, it's almost like, it's like currency, right? You were just spending it willy-nilly on things that weren't necessarily in alignment with your true value. And I feel like this full moon is going to illuminate just how valuable you are, how you think of yourself, and being a lot more intentional, and I want to say conservative, about where you place your value, who you place your value with. So I see you leveling up this week in a way that you may not have been leveling up before, and really understanding who you are and what you want, and not wasting time or energy or resources on things that are not worthy of you. Okay. Next up, we've got Gemini. Let's see what we've got for Gemini for this week. All right, Gemini, we've got the Knight of Cups. I see you being a little more emotionally vulnerable. I'm also hearing emotional maturity, in the sense that there may be an offer that's coming to you, or there may be like an offer that you want to make. Being that this is cups, it's an emotional offer. So it may be like a relationship you want to get into, or you even want to take a relationship to the next level. But it's going to require a sense of a greater degree of emotional maturity. And so I feel like this is going to be a week where you're really sort of taking a look at your level of emotional intelligence, or you may be presented with situations that reflect back to you where you are emotionally speaking. So again, whatever comes up, even if it's not as pleasant as you would like it to be, use it as information. Because I get the sense that there's a particular relationship or a particular collaboration or partnership that you want, but it's going to require you to, Spirit is saying, grow up. Like, you're going to have to grow up a little bit. Not to say that you're immature, but I think when it comes to emotions, you kind of keep things a little superficial. You don't necessarily want to get deep. That's the emotional maturity that Spirit is talking about. So I feel like this week is going to be eye-opening in terms of your emotional intelligence and what needs to be tweaked and improved upon so that you can have this relationship or this collaboration or whatever it is that you actually want. Okay. Next up, we've got Cancer. Let's see what we've got for Cancer for this week. All right, Cancer, we've got the Tower. So, I mean, there's no other way to say this. I feel like you're going to experience perhaps a Tower moment this week where something that you thought was stable, something that you thought was secure is really not. For some, I'm getting that this is like a crumbling, like a decimation of a mindset. Again, there's something that you thought that was stable that may not be so stable, or you may learn the truth about something. And it's almost like you had a certain vision of this thing in your mind. You thought about it in a certain way. And now it's like you can no longer think of this thing in the same way anymore. And this week may be filled with sadness because it's something that you like depended on, or it's something that was a mainstay in your life, and you're realizing that, yeah, it's never going to be that way again. Or this thing is not reliable. This person's not reliable. This situation isn't what I thought it was. And so now it's like you're going to have a completely different mindset, a completely different thought process when it comes to this thing. But things don't, like, if something is stable, it's not going to crumble. And as tough as it may be to get through the situation, whatever is crumbling, it needed to. And so now this gives you the opportunity to think of things in a different way. And I'm seeing like a domino effect. Once this thing allows you to change the way that you think, you're going to start changing the way that you think about a lot of other things too. And it's only going to be a ripple effect. And before you know it, your life is going to look different. And not in a bad way. Different doesn't mean bad. But I think that a lot of what you were holding on to, or a lot of what you were depending on, was not of your highest good. And I feel like this is the week where you start to see the cracks in the foundation, or the foundation just gives out altogether. It's going to be enlightening. It's going to be emotional, but it's ultimately going to be enlightening. All right. Next up is Leo. Let's see what we've got for Leo. Leo, we've got the Three of Cups. All right, your message is short, sweet, and to the point. I feel like this is going to be a week of celebrating for you. In the sense that it is your season. So especially if you are a Leo sun, happy birthday. I just see you like going out, hanging out with people. This can also be a form of escape for you. I was going to say, before I said, hanging out with people, it's almost like you guys are not going to want to address your emotions like at all. Let me say this. You're not going to want to address your negative emotions at all. I see you guys rather go out, have fun, chill with friends, rather than sort of do the inner work. And I get that because, funny enough, over the last couple of weeks, Leo, you guys have been very quiet, very introspective. Like, you guys are usually sort of really out there. You guys are really enjoying the summer, enjoying your season. You guys have been a little quieter this year. And I feel like you've done enough introspection. And I feel like this week you're just like, you know what? I just want to cut up. I just want to have fun. I just want to celebrate my season. I just want to be my normal Leo self. And I feel like that's what you guys are going to do. But make sure that you're not doing that to the detriment of the work that you need to be doing. If you need to feel something, then feel it. Doesn't mean that you can't have this kind of energy, but don't have this kind of energy to the detriment of the work that you really need to be doing. All right. All right. Next up, we've got Virgo. Let's see what we have for Virgo for this week. Virgo. All right. Queen of Swords. You guys are very clear on something. Like you are no longer confused about something and you are ready to tell everybody what they need to do and where they need to go. I see you being very vocal this week, very decisive, very like you're just not with the shits this week. Let me be honest. Like I feel like you have no tolerance for stupidity. Like you are just cut. I don't want to say cutthroat. I want to say your words can cut like a sword. So be mindful of how you speak to people because I feel like you just have this energy like people can be really annoying. And because you are so clear on what you're here to do, what you want, like you have this level of clarity that perhaps other people do not. And I feel like you have no tolerance for the people who are still trying to figure things out. And Spirit is like, it's great that you know where you're going and what you're doing, but be easy and have compassion for people who are still working through their things. Um, Speak kindly to people. You don't have to be so cold. You don't have to be so rough. Like, even if people are coming to you for advice and you're like, haven't I told you this 8 times already? Or haven't I given this advice to you and you're still not taking it? Like, be easy. This is a time where everyone's sort of figuring out where they stand. And just because you figured it out doesn't mean that everyone else has it figured out. All right. So be easy, be kind. And yeah, the fact that you're clear on where you're going, use that energy and go there. Right. But be compassionate for those who are still working things out on their own. All right. Next up, we've got Libra. Let's see what we have for Libra for this week. Libra, we've got the 10 of Wands. You are feeling overwhelmed. You are feeling lost almost. You see how this guy, he's got all these sticks in front of him. He can't even see where he's going. It's like he's got so much responsibility, or he just feels like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. And don't allow what's going on, especially like your responsibilities, maybe the things that you have to take care of right now, don't allow that to cloud your vision with respect to where you're going. Remember I said the 3D is the past. It's not the future. These 10 wands represent his past. It's almost like he's got his past in his face to the point where he cannot see his future. So do not allow, and this could be like your job responsibilities, your family responsibilities. It could be like emotions from the past that just keep coming up. Don't allow those to cloud your vision, and don't hold on to all these things to the detriment of your future. It's time for you to drop all of these wands. Drop them so you can see at least where you're going. Because I get the sense that some of you have like a general idea of where you're going, but you don't know the specifics. It's almost like you're saying, yeah, I want to go to Europe. Okay, there's like mad enough countries in Europe. Like you need to be a little more specific, but you can't be specific because you're holding on to all of this. Like it's time for you to drop those responsibilities. I'm not saying drop your responsibilities, not take care of what you need to take care of, but it's like the emotions. Let's say you're dealing with a stressful family situation. It's not to say like don't take care of your family or don't handle your familiar responsibilities, but the emotions that come with all of that is what you need to drop. Because holding on to those emotions, again, is just clouding your vision with respect to where you're trying to go. So drop the emotions, drop the intensity, drop what is not relevant to your future, and then start getting specific on what it is that you want. Okay. Next up, we've got Scorpio. Let's see what we've got for Scorpio for this week. All right, Scorpio, we've got the 5 of Wands. So it's this element of battle. It's this element of competition, but I feel like this is internal. Some of you are feeling like you're battling your demons. Some of you are you're very much feeling your repressed emotions right now. I feel like, especially with the moon having just crossed over Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, you may even be feeling these emotions very viscerally. Like you literally feel like you've got to slay a dragon. You've got to fight your demons. Some of you also feel like working toward your goals, like working towards the things that you want, like it requires a fight. Like it's just it's a task. Like you've got your armor on and you're ready to battle. And spirit is like, it's not as intense as you think it is. If you approach it thinking that, you've got to have all your armor on and it's going to be a fight, of course it's going to be that way. But spirit is like, it's a lot simpler than you think it is. It's not as complicated. When it comes to battling your demons, it's like make friends with them, understand them, and you above all other signs can do that masterfully. You guys make friends with your demons. You make your demons pets. Like you just have a way to control your darker side that we could all learn from. And so it's almost like you determine the intensity of this. If you think you're in for World War III, then you are. If you think that things are going to be a lot simpler than they are, then you're also right, right? So it doesn't have to be like this. Figure out how you want it to be and then focus on that. But don't automatically sell yourself short by thinking that, oh my gosh, this is going to be such a hard thing, or it's so difficult for me to accomplish this. Like, it's a lot simpler than you think. Hopefully that made sense. Next up, we've got Sagittarius. Let's see what we've got for Sagittarius. Oh, Sag, we've got the 5 of Cups. You guys are going through it this week. I feel like there's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of regret, thinking about what hasn't worked out. I talked about that full moon in Aquarius is showing us where we need to improve. And I feel like you're really kind of stuck in the what hasn't worked out energy. Like you see these 3 cups over here, right? They're spilled and you see the liquid coming out of them. It's like, oh my gosh, I tried to start this business and it didn't work out. I tried to, get this debt cleaned up and I just accumulated more debt. Like, don't stay in this energy. Understand that it is merely information rather than saying, oh, that business didn't work out. Figure out why it didn't work out, especially with this full moon being in Aquarius. It's all about our thoughts, right? This is about crafting a master plan. Think about why it didn't work out and how you can tweak those things so that the next time around that you give it a go, it does work out. But I feel like some of you are just going to get stuck in this energy of regret, sadness, despair over what didn't transpire or what transpired in a way that wasn't beneficial to you. Again, get unstuck from this. Feel whatever you're going to feel. I'm not saying to stuff these emotions down or ignore them. I'm saying that you need to feel these things, but don't get stuck there. All right. Okay. Next up, we've got Capricorn. Let's see what we've got for Capricorn for this week. All right, Capricorn, we've got the World card. You guys are definitely feeling this energy of transition because you've definitely completed a cycle and you are on to the next thing. But there's some cleanup that has to be done beforehand. I get this sense you guys are all about accomplishment and success. So you're like, oh my gosh, this cycle is done. Yes, let's move on to the next. And Spirit's like, there's a little bit of cleanup that has to be done. There's some loose ends that have to be tied up. There's some things that have to be addressed. So don't be so quick to just hop on to the next thing, because without this cleanup, you're kind of taking some of that garbage with you. Right? Like when let's say that you change jobs and you're packing up your desk from, the job that you're leaving, and you've got a whole bunch of papers, a whole bunch of stuff, all the things that you've accumulated from this job. And you don't give yourself enough time to sort through them. You come home with those boxes and then you go to the new job with the same boxes. And so you've got paperwork from the old job. You've got the energy of that place that you're bringing into this new one. And Spirit is like, no, this new season, this new cycle is brand spanking new. So you got to do some cleanup to really close out that old cycle, that cycle that you're leaving, so that you can enter this new one so fresh and so clean. All right. So this is going to be the work where you're sort of addressing those loose ends, doing that cleanup before you head over to that new thing. All right. Next up, we've got Aquarius. Let's see what we've got for Aquarius for this week. Aquarius. All right. We've got the Tower moment. Aquarius, I'm hearing like a mental catastrophe. You are thinking the absolute worst about something. Like you are just like, there's no possible way that this can work out well. Oh my gosh, this is how this is going to be. You need to realize that this is just a construct of your mind. As much as you can manifest this and think about this, you can manifest the exact opposite as well. So, this catastrophe that you are imagining has not happened yet. And it is not guaranteed that this catastrophe is going to happen. But if you keep staying in this energy, this catastrophe will have no choice but to happen. So, your challenge this week, if you choose to accept it, is to think positively about this thing. Don't think that everything's going to go to shit. Don't think that everything is going to be this World War III. Things are just going to end. Like things are going to be, shitty forever. No, your challenge is to think the best of this situation. This challenge is to think about and ruminate on what you want to see happen, not what you are afraid of seeing happen. So again, you are given the challenge to think positively, and hopefully you accept this challenge. Okay. And last but certainly not least, we've got Pisces. Let's see what we've got for Pisces for this week. Pisces, we've got the Queen of Wands. All right. So this is going to be a week where you are given opportunities to take a leadership role. And it's going to require a certain amount of self-confidence that I'm going to be honest, Spirit is telling me that you may not have. Not that you are not someone to be confident, but I think that when you think about yourself, you're like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I know enough. I don't know if I can handle this. And Spirit is like, you kind of have to. This is where your abundance lies. It's all about growing into who you are meant to be. I'm also hearing fake it till you make it. Don't resist an opportunity. Don't turn down an opportunity because you don't think you're ready. I think it's Sir Richard Branson that says like, whatever opportunity you're presented with, like just take it and then you'll learn along the way. That's kind of how you have to approach this. It's this fake it till you make it, but it's more so about embodying the confident version of you. Remember I said before, infinite versions of you exist. You just need to consistently select the one that is confident, that knows what he or she is doing, that is capable of the job. If you think from that place, don't even think of it. Don't think of it as being outside of yourself. Like, oh, I see myself as a confident person. No, you are a confident person. You're a confident person. You're knowledgeable. You know exactly what you're doing. Embody that, act from that place, and then this situation is going to pay off in dividends. But I get this feeling of fear, hesitancy, because you're like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm right for it. Of course you're right for it. There's a version of you out there that is already doing it, that already has it, that's already confident, that's already self-assured. Step into that person, select that person consistently, and this will be a very lucrative situation for you. All right, my loves, that concludes this edition of the weekly Astro Forecast. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going into this week that is of value to you. And of course, if you did, please hit that thumbs up button. All right, my loves, thank you so much for tuning in. Have an amazing week, and I will see you in my next video. All right.